Travis Hunter has the potential to be the best player in college football this year, but does it hurt or help his chances more by playing on both sides of the ball? Welcome in, Buffs fans, and thanks for tuning in to Buffs Banter, presented by Believe Network. My name is Dean Frank, and I'm here with my co-host, Oscar Gonzalez-Moore.
Before we start, make sure to join the Stampede. Follow and subscribe to us on all platforms at Buffs Banter, as we post 2 shows twice a week, so you don't miss an entire thing about the Buffs football season all season long.
We are officially on episode 5, rolling back throughout the cycle with the segment Buffalo Breakdown. Today, we're going to give our scouting report on Buffs athletes for this upcoming season, and today's edition is on the two-way superstar himself, Travis Hunter. And there's no other way to sugarcoat it. Travis Hunter is the most unique prospect of all time. As a wide receiver, his ability to create separation and break tackles gives him an NFL comparison of Justin Jefferson. While on defense, his explosive top-end speed along with high IQ and coverage tracking reminds me of Sauce Gardner.
If Travis Hunter can play to his full potential, he has the chance to break records on both sides of the field, let alone win the Heisman Trophy.
It's crazy, Oscar, because I feel like in some way Travis Hunter is kind of undershadowed. Like, he's not getting enough credit. Like, he is playing on both sides of the ball, and on any day he can be the best wide receiver or cornerback on the field. Do you think that to unlock his full potential, he needs to play on either side? Or how is the season going to go? Is he going to play both sides? Should he stick to one side or the other? What do you think?
I think it's very interesting because clearly he's dominant on both sides of the ball, but then you kind of have not mediocre stats. I mean, it's been very impressive what he's been able to do on offense and defense, but if you played him on only one side of the ball, I'm sure his stats would be incrementally better, let alone he's playing like close to 140, 150 snaps per game. He's going to burn out. So I know Dion has said before that he wants to play on both sides of the ball. It's what he likes to do. And I think Colorado needs him to play on both sides of the ball because we just don't have the depth. This team just doesn't have the depth, and we need him. He's the best player on the field, and we need him playing at all times.
Sure, yeah. I've been thinking about this topic all day, really, because he played the most snaps in college football last year, and he missed 3 games. And by far, he blew out that number. Kind of like you said, I do agree. Colorado, obviously, we need him. He's our most skilled position player. We need him on both sides of the ball. But then once he's drafted in the NFL, I definitely think he's going to have to pick one way or the other. Hopefully, if he can stay healthy, his full potential, I think he is the best cornerback in the league. And then on the other side of the ball, when he has Shedeur throwing to him, I mean, they're the best duo in the league. He's actually rated the top wide receiver at 95, which is a little sticky because I think it has a little more to do with his cornerback skills. But obviously, since he's playing on both sides of the ball, he has that rating. And I just want to see him play healthy, man, because last year, obviously, when he got injured, I think it did hurt him a little bit where he's playing so many snaps. Like, you just can't come back from the injury and be as top tier as you did. Like, in a way, his first game against TCU, that was probably the best game of his Colorado career. I mean, he had the pick and he had over 100 reception yards. Oh my God. I remember seeing that. I remember they were in the end zone and he out of nowhere comes out and takes, oh my God, that was just being there in that atmosphere was insane. But yeah, I guess touched on the subject that we need him on both sides of the ball. If you had to pick one, wide receiver or cornerback, which do you think would help Colorado out more this year?
I think moving forward with the Buffs, I'd want him to play on the defensive side of the ball if I had to pick one. I think it's going to be more interesting deciding what position he declares to play in the NFL, because I don't see a world where he can play both sides of the ball in the NFL. You know, there's like a wide receiver room and there's a cornerback room, right? Like, logistically thinking, like, he can't learn everything.
Sure.
And he's going to burn out. Like, I know he's a generational player, and we've really haven't seen this before besides Charles Woodson, but even Charles Woodson, right? He never played like fully on the offense as wide receiver. He did a lot of returning, but I think he's a better cornerback prospect, but he may choose to go wide receiver because wide receivers are paid much more handsomely than the cornerbacks in the National Football League.
Yeah, I think the best wide receivers in the league, they make about 30 million a year, and then the best cornerbacks make about 20. So if it's about money, then I understand that. But talent-wise, I think an interesting idea is that there's so much more of a rarity of cornerbacks being stars in the league versus wide receivers, if that makes sense. Like every year in the draft class, I say I know at least 5 or 6 wide receivers coming into it, but fewer cornerbacks. So if he wants to be that star at cornerback, which he definitely can be, I think that's his to lose. But should he stay on? I guess that could just be a problem for next year. For now, you hit it perfectly. We need him on both sides of the ball. In his first season with the Buffs, he had 57 catches, 721 yards on offense, and 5 touchdowns. And he had 30 tackles and 3 interceptions on defense. And that's in only 9 games. Obviously, he was injured, so we weren't able to see his full potential. But like I mentioned earlier, he did still have the most snaps in the league, which was at 1,100 snaps, 475 on offense, 631 on defense, and 32 on special teams.
Yeah, I that's insane, dude. And yeah,
you got to get tired at some point.
I really hope, like, I think he will play both sides of the ball, but I also think it's interesting to note that I think he's just more valuable at cornerback, but he might go wide receiver for the financial reasons. But I feel like you can find, and man, I don't want to like disrespect him, but just like the builds, like if he has to choose one, right? I'd categorize him as like a slim, fast wide receiver, I guess. But his zone coverage is freaking nuts. His man skills are pretty good. And he's got a good size. You know, he could put on a couple more pounds. But yeah, I think he could be like more of a Sauce Gardner guy.
Well, the ceiling is off the charts on either way. It's just, would he have more potential if he can focus on one side of the ball? That's the question. Because he's done it before. Like it's not like this is his first time playing on both sides of the ball. This is what he's done growing up his whole life. He did this in high school. He did this at Jackson State. He did this past year. But now I guess since it's his last year of college, it's the question, because with the snap count, is he going to burn out? And how is this going to affect his draft stock? Because obviously the worst thing he could do this year is get injured. And nobody's preying on an injury, but if he's on the field more, I feel like he has a better chance of getting hurt. And that's just how it is.
I was just going to say, I mean, he's been injured the last 2 years, which is probably his biggest con at this point in terms of draft scouting reports. And one thing I hope drafts are taking into account is how many snaps this kid is playing every game. I mean, I'm not saying after the Colorado State hit, for example, I think everyone was super scared and a lot of people were suspicious and anxious about him playing two sides of the field again, just because he looked gas. And you go back to that Stanford game too. Like, I think that was his worst game defensively. He gave up like close to 200, 300 yards.
Well, that wide receiver was in Spain.
Yes, he is a top 10 wide receiver in the country. I'm blanking on his name, but
other than that game, his stats at corner were at the top in the country.
100%. And you look at the snap count from that game too, and it's off the charts. Like, he was just doing so much damage on both sides of the ball in the first half. And then he's just gassed. Go back, you just look at it, and it's a lot more dangerous to be gassed as a cornerback than a wide receiver, because worst case scenario, if you're burnt out as a wide receiver, you're just not getting targeted that play. If you're a cornerback, you can give up a touchdown so easily.
No, you said that greatly. Do you think that if he wanted to, he could, because Deion's giving him the green light is what it seems like. And in the Big 12 media day, Deion said that Travis can be the best cornerback or the best wide receiver on any day, and it's up to him, is what he said. So do you think Travis is thinking this in any way? Or, I mean, he's just trying to be out there and do as much as he can on the field to help his team win?
I think he's part of a winning culture over anything. Like, I know a lot of what we see as him. I personally haven't had any classes with him or really had any one-on-one conversation time with him. But from what I've seen online, through Well Off, through all these other social platforms that are either promoting Travis or Travis is streaming on, he seems like a great guy. I know he's had a girlfriend who I think they're engaged now, so congratulations. Since like day one, he didn't have to follow Prime. Do you remember signing day? He committed to Florida State and then flipped to Jackson State, you know?
Yeah.
He's just like loyal, trust the process. Trust the process. Like, I'm sure there were so many people when he entered the transfer portal. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people knew he was going to Colorado, but I'm sure a lot of people were also throwing bags at this man to come to their school. You know what I mean? But he trusts the process, trusted Dion, trusted Colorado, and now he's in a very special position. But that being said, yeah, I do think he's going to do whatever it takes to carry the team on his back and get some W's.
He trusted the process, and now he's at a 95 overall rating in NCAA college football, making him the highest rated wide receiver in the game and 6 overall. So he's doing something right. And you kind of mentioned it too, but I mean, obviously he's on Well Off. He's in the center of attention in media. He streams all the time, but nobody really talks about his cockiness that they do with Shedeur or Coach Prime. But at the same time, it's like, this bro is a millionaire. He's up there with 1 and 2 with Shedeur in NIL rankings. He just does it all right. So it's awesome to watch him go through this process. And I mean, we're lucky enough as Bucs fans to be able to watch, because he's a unicorn, man. He's the Shohei Ohtani of college football. Like, this just isn't supposed to happen. He isn't supposed to be so good on both sides of the ball. I think it really just, it comes down to how much does he want it. And if I was a college football athlete as good as him, obviously I would want to be on the field as much as I can. So I think he is going to stick it out and run both sides of the ball. I think for his drafting, like, it depends, I guess, on what NFL teams need him and are drafting at that position, because they're not going to need talent on both sides of the ball. That's just simple how it is. So I do agree with the corner. And at the same time, it's like, our wide receiver room without him is still one of the best in the country. LeJontay Wester, Will Shepherd, Jimmy Horn, like, these are a 3-headed dragon on their own. So just adding Travis in the slot there obviously tops it off.
Yeah. Speaking of topping it off, I mean, I don't want to glaze too much, but I don't think I'm sorry. I think Travis Hunter could be the best player in college football this year. You know, there is no Caleb Williams type prospect. And he's just, like you said, a unique generational, more than generational, 10 times generational prospect. But here's an interesting question. Even if he is the best player in college football, and let's say hypothetically Colorado doesn't make a bowl game, they go 7-5, could he still win the Heisman?
He's going to win the Heisman, but this all, like we've just been talking about, if he can stay healthy. If he's on the field playing both sides of the ball, still has the most snaps in the country, increases his touchdown, probably he's going to double it, and same with interception. I think it's possible. I mean, we've seen this happen before. It's not like the Heisman always comes from the best team, you know? I mean, LSU pretty much had a down year last year, and Jaden Daniels won it. Obviously, we definitely are going to have to win a bit. We can't go 4-8, and there's like but at the same time, if he is a Heisman caliber player, we won't be 4-8, you know? So I guess they correlate together. I definitely think it's possible, though, and that's what I'm rooting for, because it isn't even, it's not even crazy for us to say this, because he is rated and is looked at as a top 5 player in the country on both sides of the ball. So it really just depends on if he can attack his potential.
100%. I'm very bothered by people already counting him out. There have been a fair amount of critics already coming out cursing Dion's name and Colorado's name, which is really frustrating, to be honest, as a fan, because we haven't even played a game yet. And I get it. This team is built on complete potentiality. You know, we haven't really proved anything since we have a whole new roster. But that being said, history shows, and I know this is a unique year because this is unprecedented, a prospect like Travis, but history does show you need to win the Heisman.
And there's always going to be haters in the comments, even looking at all of our comments from all of our posts. It's like people coming out of nowhere saying, oh, we were just 4-8, oh, irrelevant and whatnot, just like the guy hating on Dion this past week. But we're just going to have to prove it in the win column. That's the only way we can do it. And I think it is funny that maybe in the future we look back at some of these comments and we say, oh, we told you so. When we say Travis Hunter has the potential to win Heisman, we're not just saying that because, oh, we're trying to be biased as on Buff's banter. Like here, we totally believe it because we see day in and day out, we see the work he puts in and the potential is off the charts. And we can't wait for this season because, man, we'll be here updating you guys with everything that goes into it. And we appreciate you guys tuning in to Believe in CU Football. Make sure to listen to our next show where we're going to be interviewing Buffs culture. Stay tuned. But for both pregame and postgame coverage from the #1 student-ran show here at the University of Colorado Boulder, make sure to follow and subscribe to us and stay updated as we chop up everything going on with Colorado football.